Hey, what's up, guys? So our conversation with Sergio went a little longer than we expected. So we're splitting it into two parts. Here is part one of that conversation.
Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Blindfold Off Podcast. I'm Ernie and Emmanuel.
And I'm Emmanuel, LKD.
What's up, Emmanuel?
What's up, Ernie? I'm just chilling, man. We got no class today.
Yeah, I know. I'm really happy. I only had, even on a Thursday, I just have one class. I have accounting.
Yeah, I mean, same. I won class too, so it's nothing different.
Yeah. Emmanuel's rocking the Patrick sweater. It's looking kind of sick right now.
You already know the purple bikini bottom fit.
Yeah, for real. Oh well,
and Ernie got the chain. You know, I just wanna say that too. You got the chain. You got the ice.
All right. Today, guys, we have a very special guest. To me, Sergio is my people. He is one of my mentors, and I respect him very highly. And I think he has a lot of great things to talk about, tips, advice, and an outlook. Especially, he's not that much older than us. He's 27. Yeah, he's not that much older than us. So
he's only 7 years older.
Yeah, he's definitely been through it. And Sergio, I'd like to introduce Sergio Salgado, BLC's Registrar.
Salgado, homie.
Yeah, Salgado. I was being
facetious.
Yeah. I was being real bland there. So we wanted to start off with you introducing yourself, giving us a little backstory for the people at home, and even for Emmanuel, because he doesn't know you as well as I do.
Sure. Right on. Well, first off, thanks guys for having me on here. It's an honor to be on your podcast. I love podcasts.
Thank you for coming on.
No problem. I listen to a lot of podcasts myself, so it's always fun to actually see how one gets recorded. Like you guys said, I'm the registrar here at Bethany. I started I have a year under my belt. I'll be 2 years here in June. I was an alumnus from Bethany. I was the first graduating class under President Pfeiffer in December of 2015. So that was exciting. After that, I kind of had an array of weird jobs. I didn't know what I wanted to do yet, which is what I hear is common. So if anyone out there doesn't know what you want to do, you're about to graduate, hey man, you're in good company. So don't worry about that. So right off the bat, just don't take the first job you get offered. That's what I did. The first job I got offered was the assistant manager at Tav on the Ave here in Mankato. It's a popular place. I did like working there. I worked in the restaurant industry for a while. I worked myself up from the server all the way up to assistant manager type of thing. So that was exciting to do it, but it just didn't work out. Not what I wanted to do. So then I left and did a brief stint over with Habitat for Humanity. I was a volunteer coordinator, so just calling people and trying to get them to build houses for low-income people. It really touched my heart because I grew up with not a lot of money, not a lot of things, but by the grace of God and by my mom's incredibly hard work ethic, we were able to, I never had to worry about where I was going to stay or where my next meal was coming from. There were some days where it got pretty grave, but at the end of the day, I knew I was going to get taken care of. So that's what drew me to that, and it was a Christian organization. So it was kind of fun to see how really to live out Christ's word and Christ's love there, to actually put your faith in action is what I like to call it. So a lot of people just talk about faith and really don't do anything about it, or they just say, yeah, I'm a Christian, I equal rights for everybody. It's like, well, what happens when it goes against you? Or it goes against your belief system? Where do you stand? What are you going to say? So that's kind of where, put your money with your mouth is the kind of guy I am. So after that, I decided that, you know what? I like being in debt, so I'm going to go back to school. So I went and I applied for graduate school at MSU, and I got in. And I was in a Master's of Public Administration program. I completed that in December of 2019, so a couple months right before COVID hit. So it was nice. Finished that. I was able to have a graduation ceremony, so Did that. I got my master's. So now happily in $100,000 in debt, but it's worth it. You gotta invest in yourself. just a house payment, a freaking house. Right. But no, it was worth it. Like, education is investment. It's an investment in yourself. Yeah. So if you're willing to put in the work, you're willing to put in the, it's tough. It's gonna get harder with time. But I put it in. I was thankful that Bethany was really supportive in that area. And special shout out to Jason for that, helping me and encouraging me to continue and finish. So I was able to finish that, and then been the registrar ever since. One of my funnest jobs I had was I was actually a FedEx truck driver.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was driving those big old FedEx trucks around. And
did you handle the packages with care at least?
With care all the time.
You don't work there anymore. It's all right.
Yeah, right.
To be honest.
No, the only one part that I didn't really do is the door tag. So when you left a package, you were supposed to also leave a door tag.
Oh,
I didn't. I left the package. It's there. It's there. Yeah. You'll call us if it's not there. Yeah. But no, it was fun. It was a really like kind of on your own kind of job. You got your route in the morning, and so I had the Owatonna route. So I would drive. I'd get up at like 5:30, and I'd be at the terminal by about 6:15, 6:30, and then hopefully you're on the road by 7 o'clock. And then you just deliver packages all day, and it's really however long of a day you want to make it. So if you
just have to get the routes done, then you're done for the day. It's not more of like you have a time schedule you have to be on.
Yeah, but as long as you do it, like you get bonuses the faster you are. So if you did like 10 packages an hour, you got bonuses. So
then how would they track that? Would you just do it on your little like pad thing?
They have the iPad and stuff, so let's see how many deliveries and stuff you do per hour and whatnot. So that was fun. So like during peak is right around like Thanksgiving to Christmas. Everyone's ordering Black Friday stuff, and everyone's ordering Christmas gifts and all that. So everyone and their mothers is on Amazon.
For real.
So it gets crazy. So like I would have about 200 packages a day. And try to get those out. And then so during peak I was doing about 21 packages an hour, just in and out, boom 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 boom, like so.
Oh dang, you were speeding, huh?
Yeah. A little bit.
I mean, you run through gas. So
So
do you have to fill up one day like in advance, or do you got to fill up that day in the morning, or right after you get off?
It's usually right after I get off is when it would fill up, and so that way in the morning you don't have to waste time filling up. But yeah, I didn't stop for bathroom breaks. I didn't do any of that. I didn't stop for lunch. I was like, nope, I'm gonna get out of here because I had to go home and study. So I had to go home and do some homework, write some papers, and do all that. Still working probably full time and all that. Okay. So that was the FedEx gig, and so while my time at the at my graduate program, I was also able to be an intern at the Minnesota Senate. Okay. So I was doing 3 days up in St. Paul and then 3 days in Mankato. So the only day I got off was Sunday. So I was a beast of 6 months.
You were grinding.
Yeah.
You were grinding. You were working hard.
Yeah, respect though.
Yeah, it was hard.
For real.
Yeah, well, if you want it, man, you got to get it. You got to do anything in your power to get it, make it happen, and surround yourself with people who are going to help you achieve those dreams as well. Mm-hmm. And so I was lucky that my mom was living up in the city, so I had somewhere to stay rent-free and whatnot, just buy a pizza here and there for dinner.
Yeah, if you recognize it as an opportunity, it's...
Right.
It's a blessing because you know how much like you have, like what you have and what you could work for, especially since like your mom's living up in the cities and you're like, well, I have somewhere to go. So I mean, I'm basically getting paid. Like, I mean, you're getting paid for, your house is paid for and everything like that. And your mom, I mean, mom cooks for you at home. I mean,
absolutely.
I know she does. I know she does for me. And you're just like, I know. I just hustle because I have somewhere to go back and be like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Had those, your main, for going throw a little psych knowledge at, you get your basic needs met. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the very bottom one is just, I think it's safety, or it's basic necessities, food, shelter, those kinds of things. And I was lucky. My good old Nissan Xterra made it up doing those things. So I would drive to my job to do some more driving. So
yeah, you do have 2 degrees, right?
Yep. So I got my undergrad here at Bethany. I'm a psych major with a business administration minor. That was fun. I did a bunch of stuff here on campus, guys. Oh, it was so much fun. I did speech and debate. That was really fun. Really got my public speaking skills up. Helps me with my comedy career. Really helped me avoid that awkwardness of being up on stage and whatnot, and really helped me collect my thoughts where I'm going with when I'm going with the thought process. That was a terrible example right now, but
Yeah.
so speech helped with that. I was on student senate. I was actually the only student senate senator that year that wasn't elected. I ran and I lost, but it ended up they still needed one more position, so I was voted in. They were just like, "Hey, I know a guy," and they were like, "Yeah, we'll take him." So.
I mean, there weren't a lot of people that ran, but I mean,
No,
I mean,
boy, enough for me to lose. So,
I mean, he's there.
right. So
That's true,
that was a humbling experience. I still made it in there, and I had a blast, guys. So I was on campus concern. So much of what we're doing right now, I would kind of talk to people on campus and say, hey, what do you want to see on Bethany improved, or, no problem was too small. I remember a student came up to me and said, yeah, can we get some new pool sticks over here in Gully? These ones are pretty old. I was like, yeah, absolutely. Made a fund request, got the pool sticks. They were in there within a week, and he came back and he said, was that you? Did you do that? I was like, yeah, absolutely, man. You came and you had a problem and I fixed it. He's like, well, I appreciate that. Then it's just those little things, and you don't do it for the recognition. You don't do it for, for the glory. You do it because, for me personally, it's I like helping people and I like fixing problems. And if it's something as simple as buying pew cues that's gonna make your day to when you're coming home from a long day of class and you just want to shoot some pool, at least let the stick be in good quality.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about.
Right. You spend $30,000-$40,000 to go here. Let's at least
true.
make sure it's
That is
it's
true.
some good quality.
Every time somebody complains about something, that's like the main point. I'm paying this much money to
I'm paying this much money to
for
be
the
here.
right.
for the ping pong table to be broken. Jeez.
Right. Well, I mean, you think about ping pong tables on probably the low totem pole
Yeah.
of priority.
Okay, if the toilet wasn't working, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, ping pong table, we literally don't have a professor. Like,
Yeah. I'm kind of working on something, but
right. Right. So that was fun. So I did that. I was the first president of the psychology club, and so that was fun.
Okay.
I was the charter president. It was funny because for that one, they were voting on who should be the first president. I wasn't even there. I was literally working. And they were like, hey, we decided that you should be the president. I was like, okay, dokie, we'll get it started. So I got that started, and I was a one-term president. And then after that, people took over and never looked back after that. It was I was still a member and everything, so it was nice to see someone kind of take that over. I'm more than willing to take the brunt of the force and work the kinks out for the next person to run it better, because that's what Mama always taught me. You always leave something better than the way you found it. So, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do here at Bethany, and trying to leave. Whenever the good Lord decides I should leave this place, I want to leave it better than when I found it.
Sure.
Originally. So I did. Believe it or not, I was an athlete. So. I did some track and field.
No way.
Yeah. I know. Calm down. But I have what's called a dad bod. So I was definitely the field
Hey, they're in
part.
right now. They're in right now.
Yeah, they're sexy right now, so it's
Right.
Yeah. People look real into that.
Right. So yeah, I was an athlete. So I did shot put, hammer throw, and I didn't do discus, shot put. Oh, and javelin. Javelin was fun. Yeah, that was really fun. I got to channel my inner Aztec there. So
You're indirectly like pitchforking people.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was really nice. I kind of.
So how would you throw it? Because I know you throw a football like that. So do you have to almost keep your wrist straight, then just let it flow off the fingers?
So it's the same throwing motion as kind of like a football, but where you place your fingers and stuff is a little different. So you want to place it like kind of like this. Where your two fingers are at the top of the grip, and then you kind of because you're holding it like this
and I forget
the whole
it's a
time.
long old
it's a big pull. So I held the school record for a while, but I don't know if it's still there. It'll probably be broken. There's better athletes out there. But it was pretty nice. My best throw was like the Gustavus meet, so that was really fun. What else did I do here at Bethany? I was a Bethany ambassador, so I was. So you know that Bethany's best week ever you do as a freshman, and the upperclassmen kind of do that. Yeah, I was one of those that kind of helped out and did that. It was usually reserved for RAs, and I wasn't an RA, but they said we'll have some additional student leaders on campus come out and do that. So that was fun. I was in choir. I was a choir boy. Did two choir tours. Did a local one in Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, and everything, and then we went to Texas. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
So like where in Texas?
We went all over in Texas. We went to Fort Worth, San Antonio, More smaller Texas. Basically, wherever there was a ELS or a Wells church, that's where we went. So,
Okay. Texas is too big. It's hard to name.
Yeah,
it's hard to name a bunch of cities.
Yeah, I don't think we went to
towns.
Dallas or anything like that, but we went to. Yeah, I remember San Antonio for sure. I remember Fort Worth for sure. Those were fun. Then we would like hit up a couple spots on the way on 35.
So you guys rented a van? I
No, we were
suppose,
on
a
coach bus, son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Coach buses.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's the luxury right
Yeah,
there.
oh yeah, we went two coach. You think athletes only one that rode deep? No, the choir rolled in pretty nice. We had two coach buses, very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're traveling for hours on end, and then you finally get to the location. You got to unpack everything, and then pack everything back again. And so they had me on luggage duty.
Really?
So after everyone would kind of check in the hotels and all that, so I'd be the first one off the bus to give everyone their suitcases, and it was me and a couple of other people that would do that. Man, we had it down pat by the end of the choir tour.
Everybody knew their job lining up and
yep. They were like, just give it to me and get it taken care of. So yeah, that was fun. So after choir tour, after I was a choir boy. What else did I do? Bethany's Kappa Senate member, psychology club speech, track and field. The Glenn Taylor Leadership Institute thingy that's here. So that's faculty recommended type of thing. This feels weird talking a lot about myself. But anyways, the student leadership thing.
We did ask if you,
right.
if you remember.
So I was it's a part of a group that's recognized for on-campus leaders. So I did that, and that was really cool. I got to meet Glenn Taylor, who is a billionaire. That's with the B. I met him twice actually. So we had lunch with him one time and whatnot. He's a very nice dude, very humble guy. And so I was able to do that for a little bit, and then after that, I graduated and went on to live life. Had some interesting life moments, and then that kind of shaped me to where I'm at, and here we are today. And I thank God every day for them. So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that's what's up.
now we kind of want to get into it a little bit and ask you more of like the deeper questions. I remember the other day we were having a conversation about when you felt you hit your peak, and you said age 25, and can you tell Emmanuel and the people at home just why do you feel that was your peak, and where you felt the most confident in yourself, and you had your base layer as we were talking about?
Sure. So at 25, so I'll throw us some little facts here. So at around 25, the male brain starts to fully develop. At that point, you're done developing. You're not like done learning. You're just done developing in the brain and your capacity.
So then, what does developing mean? Developing mean like you're able to collectively like have all your thoughts in,
it's
or
just
your
easier
brain's
to
not trying to grow your body still, or is it?
So if you think back to a time when you were younger, it's easier to learn a skill then than it is to do it now. As you get older, is because your brain is still molding, it's still developing, it's still allowing for new information to come.
Mm-hmm.
As you get older, like by 20, that's why insurance companies say by 25, your brain is fully developed. So you're able to make better decisions, and your prefrontal cortex is all set and ready to go. So, but the reason I felt like I felt like I was comfortable there is because things in my life were finally being able to settle down. I was able to see a future within myself. I stopped identifying by who I hung out with and started identifying about who I am. It's like, I'm not just this person's friend. I'm not just this person's homie, and to be honest with you, I'm not this person's token minority. Like, I'm much more than this. So at 25, it helped me realize that I'm like, okay, now it's time to do some internal soul searching. Who is Sergio? How can I get back to Sergio? And how do I prevent from losing this part of the identity again?
You kind of took pride in yourself and said, it's time for me to work on myself and basically improve myself for the future.
Yeah, but and pride's kind of a hard word to use, because pride's a sin, first of all, but it's good to have pride,
Of course.
It's good to have good pride. I think pride becomes dangerous when we let it get in the way of living out Christ's word, or living out your own life and whatnot. So if you let your ego
not putting in perspective.
Right. If you let your ego get in the way, you're doing a disservice to yourself, and you're doing a disservice to those around you, because you're more focused on what you can gain instead of how you can help.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody likes that person. As
Right.
Well.
Right.
Yeah, the self-ambitious.
Right.
You know, and
I wouldn't say it's self-ambitious. I would say
selfish.
Yes, selfish, and
Selfish.
it's really easy to see it because everything's almost like backed with a purpose behind it. Like,
Right. There's an
like and
ulterior
you can,
motive.
yeah, and you can
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
the past the base layer that they're trying to give off.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone can tell when someone's being fake. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You can tell when someone is not being genuine with their smile, their concern for you, or anything like that. So for me, going back to is like I need to find a way that really helps people know that I'm there for them,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also gonna respect myself. Where if I can't help you, then I have to separate myself from you,
True.
Mhm.
Very
and
true.
that's
Very true.
and that's okay.
Mhm. Yeah, what you said about what you said about you not being able to help people if you're not able to help them is what me and Ernie kind of talked about, having self-awareness.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
self-awareness is so key. It's it's what we learned, that when you're self-aware of your own emotions especially, it's good to know that if you're tired and you know that you can't serve someone to 100% of your ability, then you shouldn't help them because you want to give them the best version of yourself.
Right.
Self-awareness is almost like putting yourself in check
Right.
and
Absolutely.
understanding, you know what, today's not my best. I should probably maybe keep my mouth shut a little more.
Mhm.
Because for me, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm that person that I need to watch my mouth.
Mhm.
And I and I need to watch what I say because sometimes I get a little too heated,
Mhm.
and when I really don't mean that.
Right. Right.
And-
No. Yeah. I'm like you
and I need
guys.
to be real self-aware of that.
Yeah, and it's the way I can to simplify that. It's you can't pour from an empty cup. Like
That's we
that-
were talking about that.
that's
too,
what it
yeah.
is. Like if your
Yeah.
cup, and you got to focus on your cup too. If your cup isn't full, and if or on the other side, if your cup is super full, and the fact that that the good Lord, it makes your cup overrunneth, that's when you're supposed to give to people. That's when you do those things. But you can't do that without making sure that your cup is filled first.
I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but today in society, I feel like they kind of got the concept of that, but they're going about it in the wrong way.
Well, how so?
Like, what do you mean? Yeah.
They have the concept of filling your own cup and putting yourself first, but they're going about it in the wrong way. An example would be like on TikTok, everybody's like trying to flex for they're doing it for other people, and they're saying they're filling it up for their own cup. They're like, oh, I'm dressing for me, when in reality they're like dressing for other people, or they bought this nice car for themselves, but in reality it's more for other people to admire and be like, oh, nice job, pat on the back. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I feel like that's a lot. I know you have TikTok as well, but I don't know if you see that.
Yeah, I think like any generation, you know, whether it's the baby boomers before us or the current Gen Z, I think a lot of people in their own generation can be lost in a way, and you try to find your ways to get back to who you were, and when you try to get back to who you were, you sometimes have to find out who you're not. And so you have to do these things, not have to, but you sometimes find yourself in situations where you probably normally wouldn't find yourself in. And so when you find that, you realize, hey, I don't like this, or you figure out that, or you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach where like, hey, this isn't for me, this is wrong, or this isn't, I just don't vibe with this, then that's where you can kind of step away from that.
Would you say that's like in a test to your morals and your values you have for yourself, or like almost the way you see and hold yourself is when you get that feeling in your stomach, or when you understand that, hey, I'm better than this, or I know I shouldn't be doing this for a fact?
A lot of that is instinct, and I would say a lot of that is also probably your own, that, you know, to get spiritual, it's probably the Holy Spirit telling you that, hey, that this isn't right, or something is off about this. And we have that human intuition to kind of learn and understand about those kinds of things. So it just really depends on you. That's why I'm saying it. When it goes back to that cup thing, if you don't know your cup, if you don't know how much your cup can hold, then you're pouring from what you think is full, and it ends up being empty. So it ends up being that. You mentioned earlier that you have a sharp tongue, and it's like, me too. Like, that's one of the reasons I love and hate my psych major, is because I no longer argue to win. I go for the jugular.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like, if you're gonna come at me like that, oh boy, you're gonna need some therapy by the time you're done with me.
Yeah, you're gonna be thinking about it for a week.
Right, exactly. Like, man, he just made fun of my eyebrows. Like, what the world? Like,
Are they really that thick?
like, how did he know? Like, how did he see?
Do they
that?
connect?
Right. Is it a unibrow? Like, it's like, no, like, that's a defense mechanism for me. A lot of the times, I wasn't the most handsome kid growing up. It definitely wasn't the thinnest kid growing up. So I really had to find ways to develop a way to kind of protect myself and whatnot. And you know this, Ernie, but I don't know if Emmanuel does, but I had no father figure growing up. So it was really just my mom. It was just my mom raising myself, my brother, and my special needs sister, who's the youngest. And so these defense mechanisms, when they would happen and they get out of control, I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't know how to process this. I didn't really know how to really turn around and make this a positive experience for somebody. So I go for the jugular. I didn't care. I burned a lot of bridges in my youth. And I regret it, and I regret it a lot. But at the same time, I had to learn what it feels like to burn bridges. I had to learn what it was like to lose that connection because of your own actions.
How did you become self-aware of that? Is it by age, or was it more of you saw people that you really liked in the long run after you thought about it for a while, and you were like, wow, I actually needed that person. I just kicked them out of my life because of my tongue.
Right. To answer your question, I think it's an ongoing process. You don't just stop learning at a specific age about those kinds of things, but it continues to follow you through life, and it continues to show up in different ways. I guess for me, when I became kind of self-aware of those things, and like I said, I'm still learning to be self-aware more than I already am, is by watching other people. Yeah, exactly. Watching models, people who you look up to, respect. Because I didn't have that father figure, I was trying to find somewhere to fill the void. And for me, when I filled the void, I'm a huge TV nerd. I love TV, probably too much. But it's gotten to the point where I can listen to the first 5 or 10 minutes of the cold open to any Office or Bob's Burgers episode, and I can tell you which season and the plot of the episode.
Really?
With a 1 or 2 degree of separation. That's how.
That's intense. Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah. No. That's how much TV I watch, because I didn't do it because. But what I watched a lot was sitcoms. I would watch a lot of sitcoms because
like Friends and Seinfeld and
no
Big Bang
Lord,
Theory.
No, I do not like Friends. It's okay. It's
but
got
those are
some funny
examples
episodes.
of sitcoms, right?
Yeah,
okay,
those
okay.
are. Yeah, but I would watch more Family Matters. Your Steve Urkels, Carl Winslow. Family Matters is super important to me because seeing another person of color on TV kind of go through the kind of things that we go through here on a daily basis kind of was comforting. It's like, these aren't issues. These aren't new issues that I'm feeling. These are stuff that we're kind of dealing with on a daily basis. So, Family Matters was awesome. It was Steve Urkel, Carl Winslow, those kinds of things. Full House was awesome. I loved Full House, the Olsen twins and
Stamos.
Yeah, Stamos. That's who I model my hair after, man. Like he's the reason why I make sure
he was the man.
Yeah.
He still looks good today.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm
does,
saying.
yeah.
Like, have mercy. You know what I'm saying?
Have mercy.
Yeah. So that he's the one who told me you got to make sure your hair looks good. You make sure you look good.
True.
You look good. You feel good. You perform good.
That's actually true.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and so
back.
that's where I learned. And Danny Tanner taught me. A clean house is a happy house. Still struggle with that today, but more and more I get it. I can see where you can find comfort in a clean home. And then Dave Coulier, Joey's character, he taught me how to be the funny guy. He taught me how to use humor, to really fend off some of the things that suck in life. And that's why I like dark humor, because there's still something funny in it. In the darkest of things, there's still something funny in it. And if you can find that, because to me, humor is light. Humor is a light that helps light up the darkness of our souls. And that's why I love doing stand-up comedy, and that's how stand-up comedy essentially saved me from the pit of despair that I was. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey. You don't stop learning about that.
I kind of want to go back to the cup thing you were saying.
Yeah.
Do you think everybody has a different size cup? Let's say like mine's maybe like a liter cup, and his is maybe just like an 8-ounce cup. opposed to different other people?
That's a good question. I think for me personally, I think everyone.
Everybody has the same size cup?
No, I can't say everyone has the same size cup because everybody's different. Everyone's going to have struggles or stuff, or what form their cup is going to be different. Because what forms your cup is your experiences, your life experiences.
It's not just some default thing that you have.
Right. No, because it goes back to almost a nurture versus nature argument. Like it really part of it is your nature and part of it is your nurturing aspect, how you were raised exactly. So I don't think it's the same size cup for everybody, but I think everybody has a cup. I think everybody has a cup, and I think not everybody knows how to fill their own cup.
Do you think you could maybe exchange a cup for a bigger one? Like throughout life, you can maybe get a bigger cup?
Absolutely, because and again, it goes with your experiences. As you get to a little kid, your cup is probably a little teacup because you don't care.
Yeah,
you're a kid. You're like, that's my
very
dinosaur, or that's
true,
my chicken nuggets, or those kinds of things. But as you get older and you start to build that empathy and that capacity for compassion towards your fellow man and whatnot, your cup gets expanded and it gets bigger. Another way to kind of look at it is it's kind of like a bank. You make deposits of positive memories and good things, and then when bad things happen and life kind of sucks, that's a withdrawal. That's a withdrawal from that bank where you use the positive memories to kind of help you with when times are tough, but you can't, there's no overdraft fee.
True.
On that one, you got to make sure that there's at least an even balance, zero-sum budget, or there's got to be, you got to have your ledger in the black.
Very true. I would say that a lot of kids our age, especially since we're both 20, they're still almost trying to find themselves. In high school, like basically there was like the totem pole, the 4-year totem pole, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Then now it's basically the same and restarted. It almost feels like we're literally, or for myself at least, we're back in high school and we're almost back on the bottom of the totem pole, going through the same growing pains. Would you agree, or?
I think Emmanuel has something to add.
So what I was gonna say. So what you said about high school, I definitely see the totem pole aspect, but I feel like once you're in college, everyone is adults. Everyone is more self-aware, I would say, because from my experience, I was friends with when I was a freshman, I was friends with a lot of juniors and seniors when I was a freshman. So there wasn't that totem pole concept of them looking down on you because everyone saw each other as equals. That's how I saw it.
I'm talking about it as in terms of age, your maturity, responsibility, and how much you are growing as a person and comfortable with yourself. That's more what I'm trying to gear the question towards.
Okay, so you're saying it more as in everyone as a collective.
Yes, and as an individual as themselves. As an individual. Would you agree?
So say the question again then, so I make sure I get it.
Yeah.
Basically, there's the totem pole: freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And do you see the same totem pole back in college? Basically, we're trying to find ourselves again. Basically, at a new school, new environment, just with like almost having the same growing pains we had when we were 14, 15, but we're basically 20. We basically know better, know more, and we're adults, but it almost feels like we're going through the same growing pains, at least for myself.
Do you feel the same, Emmanuel?
I mean, I definitely know that.
Could you correlate some of them or like see some of the similarities from high school to college now?
Yeah, I see what you're talking about, as in we're all trying to find ourselves.
Yeah.
I see that aspect, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's a totem pole in college because based on the conversations I've had with everyone, I mean, not everyone, but most of the people here, they talk about high school. They said that their high school experience is a totem pole where the sophomores are looking down at the freshmen, juniors looking down at sophomores, seniors looking down at juniors sometimes.
I suppose that's a product of me playing baseball, I guess, because they kind of little haze me a little bit. Just you're like, oh, you're the freshman, just go get go get like the balls, or they stick me with the worst jobs that that kind of suck. I suppose that might be why I think like that.
Okay.
But at least for me, it kind of feels like that because I'm trying to like. I talk to a lot of people, but it's almost like identifying who your friends are and being a part of like a bunch of friend groups or and stuff like that. I guess that's why I feel that way, or in that manner.
I think, I'm just gonna,
Gotta stay hydrated.
yeah, for sure.
H2O.
Hydration, baby, hydration.
Gatorade.
Water sucks.
It really, really sucks.
I think that's an interesting viewpoint, how you view it as a totem pole, because I tend to, my line of thinking tends to lean more towards Emmanuel's, where it was a totem pole in high school, and that's fair because that's all you've known. In that high school, that's all you see in the media, that's all you see in the TV, the hazing and stuff. But college is different. College is a point where you're all legal adults. So you
can't do anything stupid. Yeah, you're gonna get actually gonna get in trouble.
There's consequences to your actions at this point now. There's some things going to happen if you do it. There's no more mom or dad coming out to bail you out. In some cases there is, but I think finding yourself is a lifelong process, not exclusive to college or high school. I think there's people who graduate college and know exactly what they want to do. And they live their life doing that one thing and they're happy. But there's also people who graduate college and then 20 years later when they're in their 40s or 50s, they'll be like, yeah, this is something I don't want to do. I want to try something different. I want to go completely veer off from my normal career path. So I think it really depends on what you find enjoyable and what you find that's going to fill your cup and what you find is going to really benefit yourself and those around you. For finding yourself in college, that's normal. I think the growing pains, they don't stop because you don't stop growing. The only time you stop growing is when you're 6 feet under. You look at nursing homes.
Write that on a t-shirt.
Right. That's a depressing t-shirt, man.
The only time you stop growing is when you're 6 feet under. That's
right.
deep.
That's a good quote, though.
That's deep, no pun intended.
Right. Yeah, I just made that up. I'm not going to lie to you. But, because here, this is why. Because I say that because I live by this quote by a pastor. Granted, he's a mega church pastor, but it goes, leaders never stop learning. Once you stop learning, you stop leading. So I never want to stop learning. I never want to, because there's always something else for me to learn.
Why add mega church? I'm sorry, for interrupting you, but why add mega church?
So, because mega church, they tend to have this stigma of mega churches where they're
they're just preachy.
No, it's the opposite. It's more that they're more in it for the glory and for the money in it. Because there's great, a mega church is think of a football stadium. With
so what they talk about, Joel Osteen.
Joel Osteen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Those are mega churches
Okay.
and stuff. Yeah, it looks like a Apple store, but it's a freaking church.
Okay. Anyways.
So that's why I brought it up. But I think so there's always something else that you want to learn. Because whatever you learn, because for me, and this goes a little bit to kind of Norse. Scandinavian mythology is they have this thing that's called the Tree of Life. I don't know how to pronounce it in its actual thing, but it's Tree of Life, and it has a picture of I've been playing a lot of Valhalla, but it shows a picture of a tree and then the roots, and it's connected to everything in the world, and that's kind of how I feel we are. I think everything in one way, shape, or form is connected. If you take a look at this microphone, how did it get here from start to finish? Well, someone in another country mined the iron for this. Someone in another country put together the mold and the plastic for this. Someone shipped it to here. Someone put it together. So all that is connected. While it looks like a mundane type of thing, I like seeing its process. I'm a very process-oriented guy. The results are results, but I like to see how the process, because oftentimes you find that if you don't get the result you want, is because your process was messed up. What in your process needs to be fixed? And so that's kind of why I look at it. And right now, life is a process. That's your process. And there's little moments, there's brief moments of time. It's like a snapshot where things are going to be okay and things are going to be fine. But what happens when darkness takes over? What happens when you don't want to get out of bed to go to class, or you're not making any friends because you're a little different, or because people don't think the same way you do? That's very real, and I think that's been exacerbated a little bit with COVID and everything. Your inability to go interact with your fellow students and interact with people and stuff. And yeah, we have online, we have cameras, we have all this stuff, but We can all tell it's not the same. It's not the same as seeing the person and feeling their energy and stuff. And it sounds a little hippie-ish, but I'm big.
I definitely think that's real too.
Yeah, I'm big on vibes. Like if I get a weird vibe from you, or if I just don't, if your aura, to use a hippie term, it's not producing a color that I like, then I'm gonna respect you because you're a human being, but I'm probably gonna stay away from you because our energies aren't vibing. Or to put it in Christian terms, it's just I'm gonna treat you like a brother because you're a brother of Christ. But that doesn't mean I have to interact with you. It doesn't mean I have to, I have to respect them, but you don't have to, you hang out with them or do that. That takes away from you. Why would you do that?
Sure.
Type of thing.
The reason for me and Emmanuel wanting to start the show was a lot of us have the same questions and basically growing pains that we had at 20. Can you kind of talk about some of the growing pains you had at 20?
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean, basically, we'll say basically yes or no because we're 20 and we're going through them now.
Right. Yeah. So
and I'm also trying to communicate that anything that you've been feeling now is nothing different than you've had or my dad has or my
grandpa has had,
Right, yeah. So I think that's a very good question. I think at 20, because your growing pains are going to vary on your life experiences, but I think some generalities can be drawn from those things. So at the age of 20, one, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Why you start to question, it's like, because you're usually 20, you're a junior, senior in college, about to be 21. You start to think about how your actions start to affect other people. You start to, at least this was true for me. It's when I was 20, it's like, who am I? And in finding out who am I, how can I help other people? Or is helping other people part of who I actually am? So it's those kinds of things that you do. So at 20, I was like, the biggest thing is, how am I going to eat? Because I worked the entire time I was in college. And I worked at a restaurant, so I was able to, sneak fries here and there and whatnot. But my Maslow's hierarchy of needs weren't being met. How am I going to eat? I had a place to stay. I was staying in the dorms and whatnot. So, but it's like, what am I going to do for today? And that part was definitely scary. I think another part of the growing pains at 21 is you find out, who are my actual friends, and do I want to be around these people for a long time? And that one's hard. That one is hard because
we were talking to me and Emmanuel. I was telling him we should ask him this question because I've been asking myself that constantly, like, who are my friends? Like, well, especially since from where I'm from Arizona, coming all the way to here, it's almost, we talked about this, like, it almost feels like it's bland or ingenuine. Like, people are
almost fake.
Yeah, it feels fake. And you were telling me it's almost like a vibe they give off that you'll understand if they legitimately care for you or they're your friend. And I feel that with Emmanuel, and I understand he's probably one of my best friends. So, and it's like, I kind of felt that vibe too. It felt we were almost like somewhat similar, and we could agree and have a conversation past just the surface level.
Right. And so to speak on that, so you got past the surface level because I can guarantee you did this one thing, is that you weren't afraid to be vulnerable with each other.
Ooh,
that's true.
That's true.
Actual factual.
I feel like that's kind of not demonized, but it's like it's taught to be scared for people to be scared of it.
Right. Well, it's stigmatized specifically for men, I think.
Can you define stigmatized for us real quick?
So stigmatized has been like, it has a bad rep. Like it's a bad thing. I think being vulnerable, specifically men, is an incredible sign of strength. There's no such thing as a weak man because he's vulnerable. If a man who can bench press 250, run a marathon, can also paint, and that's great. That worked when we were hunters and gatherers. That's fine. But we're
not the same now.
Right. We've evolved into a complex society. So, and men get. I don't want to make this seem like it's harder for men to be vulnerable. And I think that comes on the form from toxic masculinity. I'm not saying men should just be
from back when my grandpa and grandfather were
right,
like smacking women.
Right. Well, see, that's still abuse, but
well, I'm saying like that's just like an example of like being toxic.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It becomes so. What is the definition of a man?
I'm not saying my grandpa smacked me, but dad, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry.
Right?
Like I didn't say grandpa smacked anybody.
Right. So it becomes vulnerability, and then women struggle with this too. It's not a issue.
It doesn't have a gender. I remember he got on my case yesterday or the other day. He was like, stop assigning certain things to genders or emotions to genders because that's not.
Right. Yeah. What did I tell you they were?
Everybody experiences.
They're human nature.
They're human nature, and that's very true because guys and girls are the same.
We're fundamentally different.
Fundamentally the same.
Yeah,
we're different, but I mean, I feel some of the same thoughts, questions, and feelings we go through are kind of the same.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And women struggle to be vulnerable with each other as well. Like especially, I think about it in the way of body positivity. A lot of if you think of the incredibly high standard of beauty it is to be a woman, you gotta have size 0 waist and look this way and all this other stuff, and it's just like no.
Could you argue that that's not the case? I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not saying like that's not the case. That's not the case, or it's definitely you can definitely see it, or is that just made something that something that's made people just brought to the table basically?
Right. No, I think it's not unique to either gender. I think it's unique to humanity, because if you take away the gender and you take away the 0 size waist for a woman and the big muscles for a man, what is left? What is the principle there? It's comparison. You're comparing yourself to another person. Like I look at Ernie. We roughly have the same build, but you're much more athletic than I am and whatnot. So it's that comparison. Well, that's the thing. I can let that comparison of like, oh man, I'm not buff, I'm not skinny, I'm not this.
I can let that weight down. It's good sometimes.
Right. Yeah. It's good. It can be good motivation at times.
Like it's good motivation. Oh, sorry to interrupt. But
no, go ahead.
It's good motivation. It's good to kind of reflect on what you do have.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing. When I compare myself to another person, what they don't have versus what I have is like, okay, what can I learn from that person then? What does this person have that I? Because clearly they have something that I don't. So I want to learn how they got to where they're at. And so for example, my brother and I are almost polar opposites. My brother is a gym nut. He has the incredible discipline.
Yeah, I've had the honor of meeting him.
Yeah.
It was awesome. He was a really cool guy.
Yeah, he's got incredible discipline. And so I look at him and I ask him, and I'm 27 with 2 degrees, and my brother is a high school graduate with some college experience and is a professional. He'll tell you this. I'm a professional pipe layer because he works construction, and they make crazy good money. But so and I'll ask him for advice too. I'm like, hey man, how are you so disciplined, or what can you do? What are you doing that's different from me? And I don't care that he's younger than me. I don't care that he doesn't have the same education as me, because that's ego. That's ego getting in the way.
Yeah, so basically you got to that vulnerability by laying your ego to the side?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to lay your ego to the side. I would argue that next to sin, that the ego is the next biggest fallacy in man. And I'll be the first to say my ego is big. Like when y'all ask me to be in your podcast, like kablam, like yeah, like I'm the best. Like I'm making an impact. Like students love me and all that. And it's okay to have some of that.
I mean, you do. You do though. That's why we got you on here.
Right, and it's good to have those and remind you, but you can't stay on those and pretend that your poop doesn't stink. Like, your poop will stink. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be Bill Gates, you can be Elon Musk, or you can be a homeless man on your street. But when you defecate, it's going to smell.
Yeah, that's really true.
That's true. Yeah, it's just funny in the way you said it though, because I've never heard it. Everybody's just like. Yeah,
they say the other version. I made a podcast friendly.
Yeah, but you're welcome.
Right. It's one of those things that it's setting your ego aside, and here's the other thing. It touches on it's mental health too. Everyone's afraid to talk about the feelings that they have, and let me start off by saying the feelings that you have, if you are experiencing them, if they are happening to you, or they're having an impact on you, they are real. I don't care if somebody else can't see them. If you're experiencing it, that is real. That means what you do next is up to you. If it's real, you got to talk to someone who can see you objectively to get that fixed. If that's a mental health counselor, if that's a therapist, if that's the registrar, if that's somebody else who knows you and stuff, then that's what it takes. But you can't be upset at the information that they call you out on.
So let's say let's say someone at home is self-aware of it, but they're labeling it as something different. Like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
so let's
say they're depressed, but they're like, oh, I'm just being a little.
You're being lazy, or you're being So then I would go back to say that person is experiencing something similar, but they were never taught how to process that. And so it's that way. Well, it's this thing. I'm like, is it this thing? Am I being lazy when you're not understanding the underlying cause to it? Like, I sit on the student success committee, and when people don't, one of the things we look at is attendance. Why isn't this person showing up to class? And sometimes that's a symptom of a larger issue. And sometimes we find like a student is being depressed. A student's family member just passed away. Or, because we're in college, boyfriend broke up with them, girlfriend broke up with them. And those issues are hard when you're experiencing those feelings of loss and betrayal.
Especially when you're by yourself.
Right. And especially in the age of COVID, that's hard. You get lost on this rabbit hole. It's like, I'm never going to find love again, or I'm never going to get my grades up. And you start just going down and down and down. And part of that starts with how we talk to each other. You wouldn't say, hey, you suck to another person when you first met them, right? So why do we talk to ourselves like that? So like, why do we say, it's like, man, like, I'm terrible at this. Like, okay, you admitted that's the first step. So what can you do to be better? What can you do to not be terrible? And so one of those things, like, and I'll give you a real life example. I suck at sticking to a diet change. I'm terrible. And so I reached out to someone who is not bad at that. And that's my brother. It's like, yo, I need you to hold me accountable. I need you to call me out when I'm being a fat, lazy couch potato. Then I don't want to go with you to the Y, or I don't want to go with you on a run, or I don't want to do this. I need you to call me out. And so when you establish those people in your life that you trust and respect and love to call you out on things, hey, look, that's my girlfriend.
He just pointed to the TV. We got the TV on.
They already both looked.
So when you say that from someone who when you give that power to someone else, is because you trust that someone and you love that someone, and when they call you out on those things, it's rooted in love and not rooted in hate. It's not rooted in I'm trying to make you feel bad about yourself. It's rooted because, hey, I see something in you. I see your potential, but you're not living up to it right now. And this is what I think you can do to live up to your potential. So that's one of the things. I am not an organized person. But I've been blessed to know that my assistant is a very organized, meticulous, detail-oriented person. So when all those emails that I send to students before, the big ones, I have her review it and make sure that it makes sense, that it sounds right, if I'm missing anything. So it's about finding those people that are willing to help you shape the way that you want to become. And you got to take their criticisms with knowing that it's rooted in love, and it's not rooted in making them feel themselves better about themselves, and it's not to put you down. Like it's not saying like, hey, you're fat and you're never going to be anything else. I'm like, well, that doesn't change anything. I just feel terrible. I'm gonna go eat some cheesecake. So but instead, like, if you said, hey, you're fat and I'm worried about you, and then this is why, because I want you to live longer. And my brother is very smart. He uses my niece as a thing all the time. It's like I want Zati to have her uncle for a long time. I'm like, fine. Fine. So I'll put down the extra piece of chicken or whatever it is. That is. So it's really about you got to have a golden support system. And because no one gets out of this life alone. No one that does. Everyone has been helped in one way, shape, or form. And the best example I think of that is Arnold Schwarzenegger. When everyone thinks you should look him up when he talks about the self-made man is a myth.
Okay.
So he says
self-made man is a myth.
Yeah, he said the self-made man is a myth because at some point that self-made man had help from somebody else.
True.
So it's that someone gave that. It can be as simple as giving somebody a place to stay. You were still helped by somebody else. And that's why I think everything is connected. That's why I think humanity is connected, is because of the simple act of offering up your home to someone who doesn't have one, or something less drastic, or giving or sharing a meal with someone, breaking bread, so you can break down those variables, that those walls. That helps that person a lot with dealing with anything. It shows that they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
That they're not alone. Oftentimes, at the age of 20, I often felt alone. It's like, is this it? Is this really? Does people really don't care about
My dad
me?
said that you're not alone, but you have the feeling of being lonely.
Yeah.
So you're lonely, but you're never alone. You always have the Registrar.
Right.
I have Emmanuel. I have my dad.
Right.
And I'm very lucky. And it's almost putting in perspective, as in, you do have those things, and you're very lucky to do that. And
right.
Be grateful, especially be grateful. A lot of people don't have people to talk to.
Yeah.
Especially, let's say, like someone who comes from out of the country, like they can't just.
Yeah. Oh man.
They're even in different time zones sometimes. Like different time zones, they can't even just call their mom when they need help. Their mom's sleeping or they're at work.
Right. Right. Big shout out to our international students who come from another country. That is hard. And they definitely don't get enough credit for doing something like that. And not just international students, but you think about the students who didn't grow up in a classic two-parent household, or the student who is the current breadwinner for their family because they have to work.
You kind of made me aware of how lucky I was, because you're like, Ernie, you're brown, you have two parents, like that's not common.
Yeah, so, people might say that's racist, but statistically that's what it is. Like brown and black men, sometimes their fathers are absent, not all the time. That's not to say that's the case for everybody, but when that does happen, you can choose to say, this happened in my life, and I don't have a dad, so it's going to be my card to be a terrible person on your life. No, absolutely not. It's an opportunity for you to say, I don't want to end up like that. I don't want to not care about my son. I don't want to not care about another human being. I don't want to not care about something that God has so graciously created. To deny your son is to deny God's creation, because he gave you that blessing. Yeah, when I told you you're blessed to have mom and dad in there. I'm blessed that God gave my mother the strength of mom and dad to do it. And so now, guess what? It's my turn to take care of mom and whatnot. And I try in the little things that I do, but that's a burden put on the firstborn a lot of the time. So it sometimes when you're down in the dumps, you sometimes have to reflect and say
and put it in perspective, almost, because I remember I'm basically the breadwinner, like you said. I'm the firstborn, and I have a ton of expectation, and sometimes I kind of feel sorry for not almost because they're real, but I do feel sorry for myself sometimes. I'm like, man, I got all this pressure, nobody cares, I'm over here, look how hard it is, but look at the opportunity you have. You're a college athlete. You're in a different state. You're going to college. You have all these things. You have tons of things to be successful. Go out there and be successful. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah.
And it's hard to stop feeling sorry for yourself. And it's hard. It's a mentality that can be very dangerous. I call it the victim mentality. It's always, why does this happen to me? Why did this? Oh, why can't I have that, or this and that? It's like, well, what's stopping you from doing that?
Why is somebody else getting that instead of me?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You possess the same knowledge, the same skills. If you look at all the successful people, when they talk about the things that they do to make them successful, none of them cost money. If you think about it,
It's true.
Attitude,
Making your bed early,
right?
making your
Attitude is
bed
free.
in the morning.
Work ethic is free. Being nice to people is free. Networking is free because you're just talking to people. It's those things that drive successful people. You just gotta want it more. You gotta be willing to sacrifice, not following the latest trends. And really, successful people, I argue, are black sheep because they're willing to do what the regular Joe Schmo isn't willing to do. So you look at Elon Musk, and he's willing to go to Mars not because someone told him he can't, but it's like because I want to go there and because no one else has. You know what I'm saying? And it's those lofty goals that you gotta shoot for. When I'm on stage as a comedian, I'm not trying to be the next Dave Chappelle or the next Gabriel Iglesias. I'm trying to be the first Sergio. Like, I'm trying to be the first thing. And same with you
We were
guys.
talking about that. We were like, we're not. Like, I was telling her, I was like, I don't want to come off as ingenuine because we're having this conversation for us because we want to do this podcast. It doesn't matter if anybody listens to it. We're still gonna put out content,
Right?
and if it helps somebody, thank God, like, it helped
Right.
you. Please give us more feedback. But we're doing this because we're having this conversation, and we feel like the people at home will benefit from it.
Right. And that's good. You guys are doing a service that you think would help other people. And where does that motivation come from for you guys?
For me, because I like having conversations like this, truthfully, and I just honestly I feel a lot of people our age would benefit from me because I know for 1,000% of a fact if you went through it, they have the same questions. I have the same questions. Emmanuel has the same questions. Like, it's just facts. It's not indisputable.
Right, Emmanuel.
And for me, why I want to help people is because in my high school. So back in my high school years, I was always, so what you said about the victim mentality, why is everything bad happening to me? I was always kind of selfish. I wanted to be like other people. I wanted to have the same status as them. But now looking back, since I came to college, it just feels so refreshing just to give back instead of have people give to you. Because when you keep expecting people to give to you, you're never going to be full.
Right, exactly.
So like, so when you keep on giving from your cup, you're always going to have that. You're never going to run empty.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's the same way when and it's hard because when you're in high school and you're even out in college, you compare yourself to those people. Like, oh, look, they got the latest technology, or the newest iPhone came out. They have that. Oh, now I'm broke and poor, and people are gonna judge me because I don't have the newest one. But if you show them that you're happy without it, if you show them that that thing doesn't define you, that it's not going to be your defining moment by having the latest technology, latest clothes, latest this and that, that's fine. I'm very much understand where that came from. It was the same for me. I had moved from the cities, from St. Paul, Minnesota to little old Albert Lee, Minnesota, as a freshman in high school. So I come from a big, diverse school with, people that look like me and people that
I went to the same thing.
Yeah, that talk like me and stuff. And then to a school that it's predominantly people who don't look like me and who don't talk like me, but they love my food.
You're not. Okay. I want to make this point that you're not saying it that in a negative way. You're saying it because it's real and that's an experience and it definitely affects you. Not because it's negative and to basically almost put that like other people who don't look like you like down, like, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Because I feel like people just go out of the negative, like, oh well, just he doesn't like white people. Like,
yeah.
you know
No.
what I mean?
But it just goes back to human nature. You're gonna relate to people who look like you a lot more than people who don't. You're gonna gravitate to those that have a similar life background than yours. And I've met white folks that have the exact same background. So my two best friends from here are white. A lot of my friends are white, and I still have my black and brown friends and all that. It's just different parts of my life I've been able to relate to different people, and it's not exclusive to one race.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to part 1 of the Blindfold Off Podcast featuring Sergio Salgado. Feel free to come back for next week's episode if you want to hear part 2 of the conversation. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Blindfold Off Podcast. And also, you can find us on all podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more.